The head of an Indian hospital where at least 70 children died in less than a week has been suspended. The government of Uttar Pradesh State suspended the hospital chief on Saturday and has ordered an investigation. Protesters are also calling for the resignation of the chief minister of the state, who is a close ally of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and a controversial political figure. The children at the hospital died after medical supplies of oxygen were cut. For more on this story, Neha Poonia joins us now from New Delhi. Neha, we finally heard from the hospital on the allegation of a shortage of oxygen cylinders. They've said that 50 were in reserve. If that's the case, how do they explain 72 deaths at a hospital in 5 days?
That's right. We finally heard from them early this morning when the hospital officials said they did have 50 oxygen cylinders in reserve. But they've also said that these reserves were not pulled in by the doctor who was in charge of the neonatal and the encephalitis wards. So in a sense, they blame that doctor. He's now been removed from his position, and that's also gained the hospital a lot of criticism. They're saying you can't hold one doctor accountable because the hospital has, at the same time, has also admitted that there was a shortage for a few hours. There was a disruption in the oxygen supply, but they've also maintained that had nothing to do with the death. So very contradictory statements coming in from this government hospital.
Where does the investigation stand right now? I mean, you said that they're pointing the finger at the doctor here, but again, you know, this private company was the one that shut off the oxygen because the hospital didn't pay the bill. This is a state-run hospital, so why isn't the government making sure everything's up to snuff? What's happening here?
Right. So when this case came to light, when these deaths came to light, first you had the state government denying outright that the oxygen supply had anything to do with it, following which you had raids being conducted on this private firm who said, we warned the hospital 7 times in 7 months that your oxygen supply would run out if you didn't clear your bills. Now, after that, after the private company came out and said that, the hospital said, we're going to have an internal probe. The state government says we're also going to probe the role of the hospital, but they've ruled out a federal government probe. So in a sense, what's happening right now is a state government is probing itself and its own role in this entire tragedy. So that's earned it a lot of criticism. No one has been arrested so far. No police complaint has been filed. And the one doctor who patients say was actually taking care of the situation on the ground has actually been suspended.
Neha, I really saw this story pick up over the weekend, and certainly a lot of the international media is now picking it up. Are people as equally outraged in India as some of the articles that we're seeing and some of the media attention that it's getting?
Absolutely. If you just log on to Twitter or Facebook, you'll see youngsters, you'll see a lot of people who are expressing a lot of outrage, a lot of sympathy with what these families have had to go through. It's important to note here that a government-run hospital of this scale generally caters to the poor in the region. We already know that Gorakhpur has had a history of dealing with encephalitis. Every year around this time, a lot of deaths are reported. But what's happened in this case, from what families are saying, is a pure case of negligence. The hospital apparently did not pay its dues in time, which is why the oxygen supply company cut off the oxygen cylinder supply to that government-run hospital. So a lot of outrage, a lot of shock, also coming at a time when India is celebrating 70 years of independence. So a lot of youngsters are asking, is this the India that we want to live in?
Neha, thanks for being with us again and adding context to a very, very tragic and heartbreaking story.